The war skies were never silent. Each cloud seemed to tremble with the roar of engines, each gust of wind carried the smell of burning oil. Among the most feared sights was that of the firebombers, huge flying machines that rained devastation upon cities, fortifications, and enemy supply lines. But for every bomber that rose into the night, fighter squadrons waited, hungry to tear them from the heavens. On one fateful night, a clash of steel and fire would decide not only the fate of dozens of men but also the course of a strategic campaign. It was July 1943, deep into the raging conflict over Europe. Squadron leader Captain Jonathan "Hawk" Harrington sat inside the cramped cockpit of his B-29 Superfortress, sweat rolling down his forehead despite the night air. His bomber, Iron Dawn, was loaded with incendiary bombs, enough to turn a German industrial hub into a firestorm. Alongside him flew 20 other bombers, a formation of giants slicing through the blackened sky. Their engines drummed a thunderous chorus that echoed across the clouds. The mission was simple on paper but deadly in reality. Penetrate deep into enemy territory, release firebombs over the industrial sector of Bremen, and return. What the plan did not account for was the resilience of the German night fighters waiting for them. Altitude steady at 25,000 feet, his co-pilot, Lieutenant Mason, reported. Harrington gave a curt nod, his eyes fixed on the horizon. Far ahead, the moonlight painted the sky in a pale glow, but shadows danced ominously. Meanwhile, on the ground, radar stations tracked the incoming formation. A squadron of Messerschmitt Bf 110 night fighters scrambled, their engines snarling to life. At their head was Oberleutnant Karl Reinhardt, a seasoned pilot whose reputation for bringing down heavy bombers was whispered with respect and fear. As the bombers crossed into enemy airspace, flak cannons erupted below. Bursts of black smoke blossomed around them, shaking the airframes. The gunners on the bombers fired wildly into the night, their tracer rounds streaking like fiery needles across the darkness. "Steady, men," Harrington called over the intercom. "We're not here to fight the flak. Keep formation." But as they pushed deeper, Reinhardt and his fighters closed in. The hunters had arrived. The first attack came swift and brutal. Reinhardt's Messerschmitt roared down from above, cannons spitting bright streaks of death. A bomber in the rear erupted in flames, its wing shearing off before it spiraled into the abyss below. "Bandits! Bandits on our 6!" shouted Mason. Harrington's hands tightened on the controls. "Gunners, fire at will!" Machine guns thundered from the bombers' turrets. Sparks and tracers carved the night sky as the gunners fought to fend off the predators. Reinhardt weaved through the barrage, his calm precision guiding him closer to another kill. The air became a furnace of chaos. Bombers scattered slightly to dodge flak, but breaking formation meant weakness. Every second counted. Another bomber ahead took a direct hit to its fuselage. Its payload detonated midair, turning it into a blazing comet that lit the sky. Inside Iron Dawn, the crew was tense but determined. The tail gunner, Private Lewis, tracked a Messerschmitt closing in. He squeezed the trigger, and a stream of tracers hammered the enemy's cockpit. The fighter burst into flames, spiraling out of sight. "Scratch one!" Lewis cheered, but relief was short-lived. More fighters dove from the clouds. Reinhardt himself lined up on Harrington's bomber. His guns rattled, tearing holes across the wing. Warning lights flashed in the cockpit. "We've lost hydraulic pressure," Mason yelled. Harrington gritted his teeth. "Hold her steady. We're not going down tonight." He banked sharply, forcing the bomber into a desperate maneuver that shook the crew. The Messerschmitt overshot, giving Lewis another chance. He fired again, and this time Reinhardt narrowly avoided the stream of fire. "Captain, we're nearing the drop zone," the navigator cried. Through the haze of battle, the glowing lights of Bremen's factories came into view. Smoke already choked the air from earlier raids, but tonight's strike was meant to cripple production permanently. "Prepare payload," Harrington ordered. The bombardier, Sergeant Clark, steadied his trembling hands. With precision, he adjusted his sights. The bomber shook violently as shells exploded nearby. Reinhardt's squadron pressed harder, determined to stop the bombers before they unleashed their firestorm. "Bomb bay doors open," Clark called. "Do it," Harrington barked. At that instant, Reinhardt made his move. Diving with merciless accuracy, he riddled Iron Dawn with gunfire. Sparks flew, alarms wailed, and Clark was thrown against his seat. But in the chaos, he released the bombs. One by one, the incendiaries fell like fiery rain, whistling through the air before vanishing into the city below. Seconds later, the ground erupted in waves of flame, painting the night sky with an inferno. The city below became an ocean of fire, flames leaping higher than rooftops, smoke twisting into monstrous pillars. Harrington's crew watched in grim silence. The mission had succeeded, but survival was far from assured. Reinhardt, enraged by the devastation, bore down for one final strike. His Messerschmitt closed in, guns blazing. Iron Dawn shuddered as rounds tore through its fuselage. Mason cried out, clutching his bleeding arm. Harrington's vision blurred with exhaustion, but his resolve burned brighter than the fire below. "Lewis, take him down!" he shouted. The tail gun roared. Tracers lit the darkness, chasing Reinhardt's fighter. For a moment, it seemed the German ace would evade once again. But then a lucky burst ripped into his engine. Flames engulfed the Messerschmitt, and Reinhardt's aircraft spiraled into the inferno below. Cheers erupted inside Iron Dawn, but Harrington kept his focus. "We're not home yet. Stay sharp." With half their formation destroyed, the surviving bombers turned for home. Flak still clawed at them, and damaged engines groaned under the strain. Yet, as dawn broke on the horizon, the bombers limped across friendly lines. Harrington exhaled, exhaustion washing over him. His bomber was battered, his crew bloodied, but they had delivered the fire that would cripple the enemy's war machine. On the ground below, Bremen burned for days, a reminder of the night when the firebombers battled in the sky, and men on both sides fought with everything they had. It was not victory without cost, but it was a victory carved in fire and steel.